Evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a long time since I've done a video, maybe over a year. And in the meantime, I've been working away, evangelizing, giving out miraculous medals, talking to people about the faith and stuff like that. And I've, as some of you will know, I wrote a booklet called Man Has Forgotten God. And I've set up a new website with the help of a friend of mine, and so the booklet is free to download on that website, and I'll give a link underneath to that new booklet and new website, which has a lot of great information. And it's really kind of like an evangelizing tool, the website is, and the miraculous medals that I give out. And I'm here in my sitting room, sitting in front of my crib, which is the only form of decoration that I have in the house. Because a lot of the Christmas stuff is nonsense, like, you know. And we need to get back to what the message is about, that this life is all about God. It's all about Jesus, the only God that ever came on earth, and whose birthday is going to be this week. So, the reason I'm doing this video is that a few things have been happening in the last couple of weeks that I wanted to reflect on. And part of the thing is with Enoch Burke and Wilson's Hospital School. And I've been at a few of the demonstrations looking for the release of Enoch Burke, who's a martyr for the truth. The government and the courts and all are lying through their teeth, saying that he's in breach of a court order. But they set this up. He's not guilty of any crime. The only thing they have him in jail for is breach of this supposed court order. And this is all already up. And so I was at the demonstration in support of Enoch Burke at Wilson's Hospital on Thursday last. And it was a most enlightening day, because we had a few great speakers up there, and on the Natural Women's Council YouTube channel you'll find the speeches, including one of my own. I'm at the end. Dr. Vincent Carroll gave a brilliant speech, and Jana Lundon gave another brilliant speech. And Jana went into the school and served them letters to the principal and the deputy principal and to the board of the school, setting out how they're so grievously in error on everything they're doing about this trans stuff that they're pushing in the school. And it was most enlightening when she went in, because what she discovered is that the disreputable principal that took over, Frank Milling, is no longer there. He may be coming back. He's on indefinite leave. So maybe he's had a nervous breakdown, because he should never have gone into that school when one of his teachers was in jail at the behest of the school. So, like, he had no integrity going into that job. The deputy principal seemed most uneasy, and so did the acting assistant principal. And a lot of the board members don't seem to be there anymore either. So, like, it's obviously, when you've a lot of business experience like I have in banking and business, you can almost smell from what you're hearing, the disarray that's in that school. And there was Belong To stuff all over the place. And Belong To was one of these NGOs pushing these trans ideologies in the school. And now that the principal, the acting principal and the acting deputy principal and the board have been served notice of what they're up to, and that this whole trans agenda is pure evil, and it has no scientific basis, because in England, with the Cass report, it has blown it out of the water. In America, following the election, this woke nonsense is also blown out of the water. So Ireland is kind of way behind the curveball. So another thing that happened was this week I was at a beautiful musical on Friday night in Mount Zion, which is the headquarters of the Christian Brothers, where Blessed Edmund Ignatius Rice set up the Christian Brothers. And it was a beautiful evening. It was done by the Peace Choir, and it was really, really well done. And it was to do with Christmas 1914, the truce in no man's land, which was an absolutely, it has always struck me as quite an amazing experience that ordinary, decent human beings that were sent to war by these globalists and bankers for their profit, nothing to do with all set up. The bankers, of course, were funding both sides of it. And I outline a lot of this in my booklet anyway, because the French Revolution, World War I, World War II, were all readied up by these globalists. And of course, they've never stopped because they ultimately want to destroy us all, separate us out from the truth of God and kill us, as they've proven in the last 5 years with COVID stuff. So I got to reflecting then, as I do regularly, on the amount of people that are not practicing their faith. So I was at the musical, as I say, and it was really well attended. There was a big crowd at it, like they couldn't have fitted in anymore. And I got to thinking, like, I wonder how many of these people, including the performers, like, are actually practicing their faith. And going on the statistics around, I would say a very small percentage, maybe 10% are probably practicing their faith. So, like, the thing was so beautifully done because it was all focused on Christmas, on the birth of Christ, and on this amazing humanitarian endeavour that was orchestrated by a German singing beautiful Christmas carols. And they having a party down in no man's land, like, you know. So it was really powerful. And I went for a pint on the way home to a pub that I've probably passed every day for the last, I don't know, maybe 30 years, and I'd never been in it. It's a thatched pub. And I said I'd go in for a pint. And the woman that runs the pub was there on her own. And we had a great chat. And we were talking about the way things are and the way things were and the whole lot, like, and you know, it just all makes me ponder, like, where we're going to as a society, how our society has been broken down. And that's what happens under communism, and we're living under communism, like, because our governments are dictating to us what we can say, what we can think, what we can do. And that's how they've pushed all this trans stuff, all this abortion, all this LGBT stuff. And like, if we don't kill the baby in the womb, we want to destroy the precious minds of the children in the schools with this woke nonsense, which has all come in the last 40 years probably, with sex education in the schools. And ultimately, all that is about undermining parental authority, because the parents are the primary educators of their children, and they are the ones that should be teaching their children about sex education, not any schools. And it's certainly not in primary schools, and certainly not before junior cert in secondary schools. But you see, this is what happens under communism. They want to break down the family. They want to destroy people. They want to get them living immoral lives. And ultimately, they want to turn our children with this trans stuff into people that are never going to have children, because this is a disaster. Like, I mean, you cannot change your gender. There are only two genders. God didn't make a mistake. There are only two genders. It's a mental illness. So people need to wake up and stand up for the truth and fight for their precious children and grandchildren. So John Waters, who's a very shrewd observer of the whole thing and has stood for election in the European elections and I think in the local elections as well, had a very good interview. And I'm going to link it down below with James Collins. And the first 20 minutes of it are about the Enoch Burke situation. And it's really, really very, very good. And I would encourage you to look at it, because it's an excellent analysis of the corruption of the establishment, of the government, of the judiciary, of the schools, of the solicitors, the whole legal system. It's all completely corrupt, and they set Enoch Burke up. And now they're presented with a fait accompli where he has spent 500 days in jail, having committed no crime. He's still on the payroll of the school, and the school and the government have made a complete mess of it. So, in the midst of all the confusion that's going on in the world in the last few years, some great converts have come about. And I outlined this on my website as well. If you look at it, you'll see conversion stories. And there's a great young lady from Holland called Eva Vlaardringerbrook. And she has become a Catholic from being a Lutheran. Candace Owens is another one in America, has become a Catholic. Gavin Ashenden, who was the former chaplain to the Queen of England as an Anglican bishop, has also become a great convert. And I'll link as well down below a brilliant thing that he has done, an analysis of the whole total stupidity of the Protestant Reformation and all, and where that has led to, where like that's a big part of the problem, like that the Reformation, even though it was 500 years ago, the full rotten fruits of it are coming through now. And he's very, very articulate on it. And can't believe like that for 60 years he fell for all the lies. Then Russell Brand, who's a complete nutcase for so many years, has become a Christian. I don't think he's Catholic. And he has an excellent interview with Dr. John Campbell, who's a brilliant commentator on the whole COVID thing and all the vaccine injuries and the whole lot, like. And I linked that as well. So like, what I want people to start to think about is like, we've been persuaded for the last 60 years that we can live without God. But if we do, our lives are a mess. That's an absolute guarantee. You'll end up with huge addictions, bad relationships, broken marriages, everything. And it's all deliberately, and it's rooted in contraception. Because once we get into the contraceptive mindset of thinking it's my body, my choice, I'll have as many babies as I want, not as many babies as God planned for me to have. We destroy ourselves because we break down marriage, we have adultery, fornication, casual sex, everything. And it's a disaster. It has literally broken down our society. And once we get into the contraceptive mindset, how can we stand against our children becoming involved in casual sex and all? And this is all deliberate breakdown of society by the globalists. And I outlined that in my booklet. So the booklet, as I say, is free to download, free to read. And there's a lot of other good information on the website, which I'll link. Now, ultimately, with the aftermath of the Second Vatican Council, the church leadership has been in disarray. And Freemasonry is rampant in the Vatican. And so is homosexuality. So the church has failed utterly, the earthly church leadership has failed utterly to uphold the truths of Humanae Vitae, which came out in, I think, 1968. And that predicted exactly what was going to happen if we became casual in our approach to human sexuality. It describes everything that's happening now, breakdown in family, disastrous mental health problems of people that have no faith. So we need to, each one of us needs to take personal responsibility, because the purpose of our lives is to know God, love God, and serve God. And we can only do that by the practice of our faith. And especially if we're baptized Catholics, we need to realize how precious that baptism is. And we need to get back to confessing our sins and to receive the body and blood of Christ in the Eucharist, because that's the key to our Catholic faith, and it's powerful. And it's why these great converts like Eva and Candace and Gavin Ashenden and all, they'll all tell you the same thing. It's because of the Eucharist, because of the sacraments, like, you know. Like, so the church has become the church of nice, modernism. And you see, it's in my book that I outlined the encyclicals by good popes between 1830 and 1950 about Freemasonry, about modernism. And of course, there's none since then, like, which, you know, quelle surprise. the Vatican Council, the whole corruption, the Freemasonry involvement, the whole lot, as outlined by Bella Dodd, who converted to Catholicism, having been a communist that had pushed in seminarians who are now bishops and cardinals and the whole lot, like, you know. And the choice is simple, and it's a choice for every single one of us. Do I believe that Jesus is the Saviour? He's going to be born, his birthday is this week. Do I want to live my life obeying the 10 Commandments? Or do I want to live by Satan's rules? Because it's a very simple choice. So, like, what we see now is that in the US, following the recent election, the people of America have risen up against the whole woke nonsense. And companies are pulling away now from all this woke nonsense. But of course, Ireland is always behind the curveball. We were behind the curveball in getting into abortion and the whole LGBT thing. And we'll take a few years probably to get rid of all this nonsense ourselves. But the mood music in the UK, they've pulled all the, for anybody under 18, they've pulled all this stuff like about transgenderism and all the puberty blockers and the whole lot, because the CAST report lays it all out that it's complete insanity. You cannot change your gender. So like, our Irish government need to do that. Schools like Wilson's Hospital need to stop their promoting this nonsense, like, you know, because they're sowing their seeds of their own destruction. Like, because people won't send their children to school when they start to wake up to this crap. And the parents and the grandparents have a massive responsibility to start waking up and start to fight back and start to push back against it all. So the choice is very simple. We need to have faith, we need the sacraments, and we need prayer. So like, our lives are precious. Each one of us is a precious child of God, regardless of what age we are. Whether we're babies or whether we're old fellas like me, we're all precious children of God. And that's the beauty about baptism. We're baptized as children of God. And we need to embrace the truth, the beauty of our faith. And so as I say, there's a lot of information linked down below, including my booklet and my website and the whole lot. And so just think about it, and I wish everybody all the blessings of Christmas. May you have a beautiful and holy Christmas, and please try and go to confession, and please try and go to Mass, and try and get into the habit of saying the Rosary every day, because that's just like all the apparitions of our Blessed Lady, as I outline in my booklet, are all aimed at getting us to heaven, because that's the only outcome from this life. We're all going to die. And the preamble to our Constitution is very simple, because it says, like, at the end of our lives, all actions, both of men and of states, will be judged by God. But the government, of course, want to ignore that. Now, the preamble to our Constitution is so powerful. It's like a treatise on life. But of course, the government want to ignore it. The media want to ignore it. All the big businesses want to ignore it. And but we have to take it on board, because I'm responsible for getting myself to heaven, but I'm also responsible for telling people that don't know God the good news, which is the news that Jesus is the Saviour and he loves you and that he wants to get you to heaven for all eternity. So that's the big goal. So God bless you all. Thank you.